Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be reading another short, scary story. This one is called I Know God's Scheme, posted by Shemi Puddle. Let's get started. I was in a car crash, and the angels got it wrong. For a couple of minutes, they took me instead of my mother. It was 2 minutes I was gone for, yet it felt like 2 days. I waited on an escalator. In front of me were the gates of heaven. Behind were the gates of hell. I cannot possibly describe hell to you. Children cried for their mothers with terror in their eyes that only torture can give. They ran for their lives, screaming, yet I could see nothing behind them. Others were forced to suffer in various ways. A man was forced to shoot his sister in the head over and over. She would cry for him to stop, yet he couldn't. His arm was not his own. Once the bullet went into her head, she died. She was miraculously healed, and the process repeated itself. Those with deep regrets were forced to watch them over and over on a huge screen. Their eyes were clamped open. Those sort of if I only confessed scenarios, or I was a moment too late. Mothers were forced to choose between their two children, who would remain safe while the other fell into an eternal pit of fire, where they would scream in pain for the rest of time. That was all I could take in at a moment's glance. Yet when I reached the top of the escalator, heaven was even worse. Those were not people. They were mindless worshippers. They never stopped smiling. Their loved ones in hell screamed their names, but they didn't care, for they could not remember them. They couldn't remember anything. Nothing mattered to them but the sweet love of the Lord. There was no speaking, for those in the Golden Kingdom were nothing but mere puppets on strings. When they opened their mouths, it was in praise to the Lord. They circled God's feet and kissed his heel. They were slaves to salvation. They slaved during their freedom, and the price they paid was having their individuality wiped away from the universe. It was at this point I forced my soul back into my body, and death took my mother instead. I know my mother doesn't think of me up there, but she is smiling